This is going to be a history lesson for many of you and a nostalgia trip for the rest of you because we're going to talk about the holiday season in 1991. HooKeys is where I've been getting my Windows keys. This is Windows 10 Pro, the OEM CD key, and one of the things I like about this is you're going to be paying something that's more close to the price of what you would pay if you were a big company like, I don't know, Dell or somebody, and you were buying these in bulk. You're buying the serial numbers in bulk. It's the same product, but when you're doing OEM stuff, they give you a different price, and I don't like that. I'd much rather pay the exact price that all the corporations pay to get it for my own computer. So this is why I recommend going here to get this. We have the home version of Windows. You could get Pro, but I'll show you how to get Pro. I'd recommend that one. And then we also have Office 2019 Professional, and I'll show you the prices on all these. And then we've got Windows 10 Pro plus Professional that you can get into a bundle together. I also want to note that this will upgrade to Windows 11 for free if you're going to do that early. And when you get over to this page, just do the activation code TS30 right now. It'll be TS25. There we go, $13.72. At Office TS30, $42. And I want to note that the 30% off is going to be for the first half of December. The second half of December, you still get 25% off. So use coupon code TS30 right now. If it's later in the month or if it's way later, use coupon code TS25. Once you're finished, if you want to access your key, you click on your name on the top right, click on User Center, and you'll see My Purchase Orders. Right here, you'll be able to view the keys that you've purchased just by clicking on View Keys and Codes. Then you will see your code right here. Just go ahead and copy this code, press Start, type Activate, and you'll see activation settings come up. Click on that. Then click Change Product Key. Right there, you can paste in your code and hit Next, and then you will be activated. It's very simple. So go ahead and get Windows and Office activated and do it at the same price as the wholesalers do it. Started. Frank that shit.
Sneak a peek at the Toys R Us catalog. It's got the holidays' hottest toys and money-saving coupons to save you up to $173. So hurry to Toys R Us and get the sneak a...
It's so specific. Oh, God. 100, it's so specific. Like, normally they're like, save $200, save $150. Save? What? It's so specific. Maybe that's so that this is the Toys R Us commercial from
Hurry to Toys R Us and get the sneak a peek catalog.
At 91, the King of our Lord. Since we're using the years of the Lord now. Does anybody remember this? So we have 7 people watching right now because we're early. Anybody remember the 486 DX50? This was the CPU that came in between. You have the 486 SX and then the DX50, and then some people bought this, but then the people who waited until the next year were rewarded for their efforts, for their patience, I should say, with the DX66. My God, the power. But this is the CPU that many people had in 1991. You had the DX33, okay? You were 9. I was a wee lad. In our household, we had a 386, I believe it was a 386 DX. So that's what we had. Here was the sound processing unit. Because back then, you really needed a sound processor. A lot of computers didn't even really come with onboard audio. They had like a PC speaker that could do a bleep and a bloop, and that's about it. And some games tried to use the PC speaker as their main... Well, you know what? We can show you what that sounded like since we're doing a little bit of a history lesson. But right here it is I haven't watched this person. Maybe they're good. They've got a Trilby. Trilbies are the best hats, right? Look at that. Now you needed this. Now this did 2 different things. It would allow you to do MIDI and also allow you to do the onboard, I guess just... It was kind of like chip tuning, but I think it was FM synthesis. I didn't have one of these sound blasters, so I don't know exactly how it worked. And I think it even emulated a lot of the MIDI sounds. So... I don't think MIDI was even a big thing back then. I don't know. This is way too young for me. But hey, we're going to do... Next week, I'm going to do what was the holiday season like 20 years ago. And that'll be way more familiar for a lot of us. But it's cool to take a look back. So that's what was going on in the PC world. And then we had Sony. Sony, you know, they had the Walkman, and then they had the video Walkman. This came out in 1990, but this was an item that people were purchasing in 1991. Look at this thing. This is a video Walkman. It's got a little antenna there so you could get, video. Imagine carrying this around, and instead of using it to watch on the air, over the air waves or whatever, you could plug up a composite cable to the side, which is what you could use with the Super Nintendo, which came out in 1990. So you could take your Super Nintendo and use this, but the battery life, and then you still have to plug in your Super Nintendo, but at least you'd have a small screen. I don't know. Who wants a video Walkman? Does anybody want a video Walkman? There were a few weird Sony things going on back then. The DAT player was a thing. Oh no, I had an auction here open, but it expired. Come on, show me the damn thing. Can I not see? Okay, whatever. See original listing. Go back. I swear to God, I'm going to call the police on eBay. I can't, it won't let me see the original listing. So there's another thing called DAT tapes. Here we go. And there was also, they wanted to do everything Walkman because Sony had so much success with the Walkman. Just throw a cassette tape in, and now you're no longer chained to a boombox. You can put on headphones. And headphones are one of the best societal. The Yamaha had the OPL2 on the Sound Blaster. Thanks a lot for that information, Skullmean. I love the OPL2. Anyway, I'll come back to that in a second because we're going to talk about PC games. This DAT tape Walkman never caught on, but DAT tapes were far superior to regular cassette tapes because they were digital audio tapes. And they were mostly used for professionals because you could re-record over these things more times without losing as much fidelity and stuff like that. So you'd see a lot of professionals who are recording in their home studios or even real studios using DAT tapes during this period of time. And Sony was like, you know what? We've had so much luck with our Walkman. Let's do DAT tape Walkmans and try to get this to catch on. And it's kind of like the beta tapes. Remember beta from like the VHS and beta wars? Beta was better, but VHS won the battle. And this was the same thing here. The DAT tapes were better, but cassette tapes won the battle, and then CD-ROM started coming out right around the same time, so it was like, yeah, I don't know. Does 44.1 16-bit lossless? Yeah, it was pretty wild. John Wick, how's it going? Awesome seeing me be excited about this stuff. Old junk, like they say, it's all just junk, but nostalgia strings. All right, let's see what this is. Why do I don't know why I have this open. We're going to watch someone's, this is somebody's Christmas. This is just creepy. It's only got 3,000 views. This is just somebody's random Christmas. But I want to see what was going on for Christmas for kids back then. Cat's asleep. We are in somebody's house right now. I have no idea why I opened this video. All right, what's going on here? Who remembers this kind of stuff? What did he say?
The Gran Torino! Oh boy, I'm so glad.
Gran Torino.
Wow! What? I got money! Real money?
Got real money!
Well, I'm glad since you were just complaining because you never did it.
Wine and carry on like a little baby.
Here it is!
Oh, this guy here, he's just chilling. He was like, you know what? The kids, they're so young that they are still excited by this stuff. Let's get them going with consumerism immediately and make them really excited about stuff. The other one just got money. I feel like, look at his response from getting this box of stuff that he's going to get to play with. And hers, she's just over here like, I got money.
Oh boy, I'm so glad.
Listen to the background. I'm so glad. Like, are you? I'm gonna hear. I don't think I watched this. Why do I have this open? I don't know why this is one of my tabs. I think I was just clicking on stuff from back in the day. Where is it? I want to hear that. I'm so glad after he screams. Hold your
Oh. What? The Gran Torino! Oh boy, I'm so glad.
Oh boy, I'm so glad. I bet he's been asking for this for like 12 weeks, and they're like, God damn it. And so they're like, just get him the fucking thing. Yes, capitalism is making him so happy. Oh, she's like, I got money.
What? I got money. Real money?
Like, I got money. Whose family is this? Is this somebody watching? Well, 8 people. No, there's more than 8 people right now. It just hasn't updated yet. But whose family is this, huh? Whose dad is that right there? What is he doing these days? Oh, he was killed in a terrible dining accident. I'm sorry to hear that. I don't know. Okay, we got toy catalogs. You ready? We're going to wallow in this. This kid does not look happy. Let's get in on this. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. What's Krang? You look at this thing. Man, stickers everywhere. These action figures and stuff are pretty hard to design. he's like, I see dead people. We got, what's his name? Not Macaulay Culkin. What's his, the dude who was in the one movie and then was never heard from again? I don't know. You were 5. We were all very young. I barely remember. This is like I was saying. This is a history lesson for me too, zombie. But how you doing? What's his name? Somebody. My parents went to about a dozen different stores to get you a Super Shredder toy for Christmas 1 year after Ninja Turtles. Wow. It's all you wanted was Super Shredder. That's the other thing that was hilarious about a lot of the stuff back then, and especially in the cartoons. Let's chat about cartoon history for just a minute, because this is actually something I'm got very curious about. All the action figures came out in the 80s, Reagan administration and stuff. They kind of loosened the regulations on programming and said, you know what? We've been holding back capitalism long enough. Why don't we just let you advertise straight to children? That's a good idea, because we don't want to stand in the way, and we think that it's a good thing for kids to be advertised to, and we can disguise it as shows because they're kids. They're fucking stupid. They won't even understand that these action figure shows are designed to sell them stuff. So they come out with Shredder, and that's one season. But then the next season, they're like, we need another toy. And then somebody's like, okay, well, I'm going to do an episode of the cartoon, and we're going to have Super Shredder in this episode. And that way you can make another piece of plastic to sell to the kids. You know, I kind of have a neutral stance on some of this stuff because, yes, it's very predatory to market things straight to kids. But at the same time, a lot of our culture was created. A lot of the culture that we still have today was created in this period of deregulated insanity. Like, we're talking Transformers, we're talking the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, we're talking half of the Marvel stuff. There were so many different Marvel shows. Fox started their own series of stuff, all the Disney stuff. There were so many different properties that were created in the 80s. So many new IPs. A lot of them were not new at the time. They were like, let's make a TV show out of this ultra-violent Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The actual cartoons were based on a comic book that was really violent. And they had to tone it down, obviously, for television. But a lot of this stuff is still being remade today. You know, like, how many Transformers... Was there a Transformers movie this year? I don't know. If there wasn't, then what's wrong with the universe? We need one every year. He-Man... We've got, like, He-Man stuff coming out now. We just had a new He-Man show come out now. He-Man was blatantly designed to sell toys. We had a She-Ra show come out recently. All this stuff was designed to sell toys, and it has become the culture that the mainstream just keeps rehashing and rehashing and rehashing. We're on, like, the 5th iteration, you know, like, of all this stuff, because we know that it sells toys. But in the 90s, they were like, okay, we gotta pull back on this a little bit, and they made some new edicts, and they're like, listen, you can make stuff for the kids, but each piece of it has to be a little educational, and part of your programming has to be devoted towards educational stuff for kids. And then you start seeing, like, the G.I. Joe stuff, like the more at the end of the show, they're being like, hey kids, do you know it's really dangerous to stick your head into an alligator's mouth? The more you know, or whatever. They would do those kind of little, like, PSAs at the end of their cartoons and stuff. That was part of it, but they also had shows that were specifically designed as educational shows, and they had to do that to meet the criteria. So, yeah. See, I think I learned about anti-capitalism at 7 years old after learning that Pokemon Blue and Red were the same game, but with cut content. You know, that always sat really weird with me too, and I never got into Pokemon. One of the reasons was because I thought that was weird, but I didn't really, like, think about it until, like, this year. Like, this year I sat down and thought about, holy shit, Pokemon is evil. Like, that is just awful. It's like, we've got all these loot boxes and I condemn them and stuff, but I never played Pokemon and I never looked at it. But sure enough, it was literally, it's like you would create this desire, and then force people to buy things they don't need. Get the same game in 2 different flavors, but you have to, because the catchphrase of Pokemon is gotta catch them all. And if you get gold and silver, then you can catch them all. But if you only get gold, you're gonna miss 1 or 2 Pokemon or whatever. So yeah, and they did that straight to kids, like right into your brain, gotta catch them all. And you'd run around the playground, gotta catch them all. Froth under the mouth, I gotta catch them all. Yeah, the toys that made us on Netflix really was cool and interesting to watch. Yes. All right, what else we got here on this advertising thing? Oh, check that action out. So Nintendo, the regular Nintendo was still a big deal in 1991, even though the Super Nintendo came out in 1990. So the Super Nintendo came out, I forget what month exactly in 1990, and then Super Mario World came out in, I think, November of 1990. God, I need Wikipedia in my brain. But Nintendo was still a really big deal because it hadn't been fully phased out yet, and there were still a lot of Nintendo games coming out. And they were selling a lot of Nintendo stuff in general. So this is just all the different like comic book sets and stuff, but the actual Nintendo stuff was doing really well back then. And another thing that's interesting is parents did not understand why they had to buy another system. They thought it was a scam. Like the parents looked at this stuff and they're like, we have a Nintendo. Why don't you just put the Super Nintendos onto our Nintendo? You're making us buy a new box so that we can play games. We already have a box that plays games. Some of the parents were mad. They were like, we do not want, and especially the ones who just bought it in like, 1989, 1990, they're like, we just got our Nintendo. We just bought Mario 3. Why is Super Mario World the best Mario World game ever only on Super Nintendo? They didn't understand that it was like, bigger, better, all that kind of stuff. They didn't understand that it had a new sound chip and then all these different things. They're like 16-bit. It looks almost the same. So, yeah. Someone near Richard Dawkins thought about teaching evolution with Pokemon as examples. Wow. Wow. So anyway, let's keep on scrolling through here. Talking about more stuff. These old catalogs. God, Hulkamania. This was back in the WWF phase. Look at this kid. He's ready for violence. Oh God, were you ready for violence? When was your favorite? I'm curious in the comments. When was your favorite WWE, WWF era? I kind of liked whenever Macho Man was around because, ooh, yeah, all that kind of stuff. He was silly. I liked the fact that it always looked like he was on cocaine. And just he would come out and you never know what he's going to say. I didn't watch it for the violence. I watched it for macho madness. Like the best. So you watch the Stone Cold era? Yeah, late 80s, early 90s, yeah. I never actually sat down and like consumed wrestling, but it's like one of those things where it's like, I thought wrestling was cool. Yeah, it's really freaking cool. But I don't want to sit down and watch it. Just show me the clips of Macho Man doing his stuff and people tearing their shirts off and going, yeah, spandex, yeah. You don't know shit about wrestling. Eddie Guerrero and Brock Lesnar. Wrestling. Yeah, you got to call it wrestling, son. That's one of the ways we used to differentiate. When someone said wrestling, they meant like weirdos rolling around on the ground and then like trying to be legitimate and like, groping and throwing each other all over the place. But when you say wrestling, that's when you're talking about the real stuff. And by the real stuff, I mean what you're looking at right here on the screen. Wrestling. You actually watch wrestling now? It's macho bullshit, but it's so fun. What about the man? Even she's a macho. Ugh. God. Probably didn't watch wrestling bouncing off the wall. unless you were bouncing off the walls of a trailer. Oh my God, you just hit my childhood right there. I remember putting like 5 mattresses on the ground of my friend's like place. I don't think it was a trailer, but he lived in the project, so it's close enough, right? And we would get there on the couch and just elbow drop each other, like off the top of the couch, be like, bam! Like, oh, you want some of that? Huh? And I think this was around the time, because we were it was a little after this era when we were doing this, and they would always do the, because that means something. Like, can you imagine like Dwayne Johnson? He sat down and he was like, okay, listen, I'm going to do a thing and it's going to be stupid. And we're going to get everyone in the country to run around going, and then dropping an elbow. And what about that stuff? Remember that stuff? They got everybody in the whole country walking around smacking their dick with this. It didn't matter how old they were. 8-year-old? Yeah, suck it. Like, hey, watch yourself. Young thing. Can you smell me getting some more water? Because that's what I can smell about right now. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Why am I making noises? It's just water. Oh, God. You know, marketing is hilarious when you look at it from a different lens. Redneck soap opera. All right, let's see what else was in this Christmas catalog from back then. Oh, my God, Hammer. Look at those pants. What? This is like these pants were always like what, Arabian style pants or something. I remember. I don't know if it's true or not, but someone told me that these pants were designed after a religion who thought that the birth of the Messiah was going to happen spontaneously, without warning, from a man, and so the men all wore these pants. And I was like, that sounds racist, but I never looked up to figure out if it's true or not. So maybe that is true. Is there like a religion somewhere where they wear these huge baggy pants because they think their savior is going to be born instantly through the penis? Just savior, he's in my pants. Only a man can birth a savior. We all know this. Load pants, load pants, load pants, genie pants. Yeah. Someone born in 95, stuff in this period is always really interesting to you. Like, yeah, just slightly before, this is what was going on. This is what was happening when your mom and dad recording one another. They were living in this world. Check that out. We got Barbie, you got cassette tapes, boombox, convertible. This is like a 50s caddy, 40s, 50s, 60s. I don't know. I'm not a car person, so I don't know. Oh, playing a keytar. Look at that. Oh, yeah, playing a keytar. Who is she? Playing a keytar right there. I actually like this yellow outfit. I would wear that. Okay, anyway. Then we had, like I was just saying earlier, we were still selling Nintendo games. They were big items. Look at Battletoads right there. They showed a picture of this. This is enough to induce nightmares. Do you see this level of Battletoads right here? 59 candy, is that what it is? Schloop. That is the sound of a newborn being born into your pants. Yes. Schloop. Ugh. This Battletoads level? If you know, you know. All right, what else we got? We're going to keep going through this and then move on. Swamp Thing? I don't remember Swamp Thing that much. Was it a cartoon? I didn't watch a ton of cartoons, but some. Oh my God, look at this. They have got you every way. I remember a lot of this stuff with Nintendo, though. People be walking around with a Metroid Trapper Keeper and a Mario Brothers backpack and a lunchbox that had, like, you know, Toad and Luigi on it and stuff like that. You had that Swamp thing? And you had this tent? This tentillating activity center right here? Yeah. God. I've never seen the Ninja Turtles movie. I never saw it. I was not a big Ninja Turtles fan. Sorry, Richard. I never wanted Super Shredder. I mean, I liked Krang because he was goofy. He had that stupid outfit where he was like a dude, but it was just a brain right in the stomach area. I was like, that guy's pretty cool. I like that guy. You know? All right, what else is next on the list here? We're looking at some more advertisements. We're going to get into like individual products here in a minute, but this is just kind of fun. Now, Toys R Us, they're pushing that Lynx. Look at that Atari Lynx TurboGrafx 16. Had some cool games out then. We had Game Gear. And oh, look at that. Look what I happen to have here for show and tell. There we go. Let me get this thing on the screen. Look at that. This showed up on the scene. And remember, Genesis does. You can't do this on Nintendo. Genesis does. Remember that? Do you remember that? You can't do this on Nintendo. Genesis does what Nintendo don't. Well, right here it is. It was doing what Nintendo don't. With the this had the Motorola 68000 X68000 processor, which is an awesome processor. One of my favorite systems of all time. The Sharp X68000 featured that processor with blast processing. No one knows what that means. No one. but it did have a faster CPU than Nintendo, but it didn't have as many graphical modes as Nintendo. So Nintendo had, I would believe, more specialized hardware, while this one was faster. Nintendo could display more colors. So here it is. Yep, the Mega Drive. Look at that Genesis right there for everybody in America. I don't know which one I like better. I kind of like the way the word Genesis looks, but Mega Drive does sound pretty cool too. Remember when like the bit used to be a big deal? Can you imagine if like modern systems had like just were still like talking about how many bits they had? But back then it was more like 8-bit. Oh yeah? How about some 16-bit action? And then Jaguar showed up and they're like, we have like 2 32-bit and 5 16-bits and we're a million bits, because they just started adding up all the bits from all the different processors under the hood. So excuse me. Yeah, look at all this stuff. NEC Turbo Express. Did anyone have one of those? $2.99, and you could play a Game Boy, but it's in color. Genesis more Christian than Mega Drive? Oh, yes. But Genesis, isn't that like, was that word from the Bible? I don't know. What bit are we up to now? 128, I believe? Are we at 128 with some of the consoles? Is PS5 128 or 64-bit? I don't know. I mean, we're still on 64-bit with Windows. So there's all that. There's the Super Nintendo. We're going to get into some actual games and start going through that stuff. I think it's about time to do that now. So here's some of the KB. We got one more catalog to go through. Anybody remember KB Toys? And here were the original group of games that were being advertised. Do you see what that is right there? Oh, God, I love this game. And this game is one of these games that people love or hate. Dreamcast was 128. I don't think we've had a bigger bit width since then, right? I don't think we've gone past 128-bit. Maybe we have. I don't know. I don't pay attention to consoles. Right here. This is one of the original NES launch titles that is advertised right here. It is a weird French game with a 3D world that used the graphical mode 7, which was the 3D scaling thing that they did with the Super Nintendo. Final Fight was in there, but you couldn't play with all the characters, which was annoying. And there's F-Zero. It's weird. A lot of people I talk to don't realize that F-Zero is a play on words for F1, like F1 racing. F-Zero. Some people don't get that, and it's like, click. Yeah. Dragon. So anyway, that's what was going on with the Super Nintendo. Of course, we had Mario, but everyone already had Mario, and it came with the system, so they didn't even put it over here. All right, so yeah, the Super Nintendo was doing really well. It came out in 1990, and this was probably one of the biggest things of the year during the holiday season, during Christmas and everything, was that. And then let's take a look at some of the games that were selling really well. So this came out in 1991, not for the Super Nintendo, but for the NES. It also came out for the Genesis, I believe, at a later date. I'm not sure when the date for the Genesis was, but this game, it got a lot of really good reviews because you're playing. I mean, this was exactly what every 12-year-old kid wanted to play. You could play as a frog, a Battletoad, and your name was either Rash, Zitz, or Pimple. Do you remember how awesome that was as a kid, being like, I want to be Pimple and I'm going to be Rash? Yeah, this game was so hard. I still say this is the hardest game that I ever beat without using an emulator or, with save states and stuff like that. And I don't know why I did, because I was not happy while I was playing this. I was mad. I was fucking mad at this game. Turtle Bear Bravo. You're a hero among us. Cheers. Thanks for the follow. Yeah, anthropomorphic game mascots were a thing. And then a lot of the people who love these games make fun of furries. Like, come on, you're a closet furry. You wish you were a Battletoad. But you could have the Battletoads. The big thing was it's just a side-scrolling beat 'em up that was really hard. And whenever you beat the hell out of a pig or one of the bad guys, your fist or your head or your foot would turn into this ginormous thing, and then you would knock them off the screen. So that was fun. Metroid 2 came out, The Return of Samus, and I have never played this one because I did not play Game Boy, but this was a pretty big release. You're openly fluffy, you wild beast floof derf. Well, cheers. I got no purrs, I only got growls. I can't do it. But you are welcome to purr here in the chat. you're totally welcome to do that. Anyway, anybody play Metroid 2? I want to talk about it. I'm going to move on here. Now, this is some of the stuff that I was doing because I played mostly PC games even back then. PC and Super Nintendo were the two things I was playing. But this is not the one I played. Eye of the Beholder. There we go. Eye of the Beholder was kind of like the Dungeon Master, but it's a little newer, a little better. This is where role-playing games were at the time. SSI, Strategic Simulations Incorporated, is the company that made Dungeons and Dragons. And so all these games were set in the Dungeons and Dragons universe. And I don't think the D&D team knew what kind of an impact they were going to have on society. But by the time the 90s rolled around, it was in full force. We had the satanic panic going strong. And at the same time, we also had a lot of people enjoying the hobby and really getting into it. Come on, let's see these images. Why can't I click on the images, you son of a bitch? Oh, this is really nostalgic for me. It may or may not be for you. I don't know why it won't let me open these images. Are they like blocked or something? I don't know. Whatever. This box art is beautiful. I forget the artist. Oh God. But this was a game where it was just a dungeon crawl game. A lot of fun. You set up your party, and so many games were like that. Like, a lot of these games were very similar. Excuse me. Yeah. All these SSI all these all these SSI games coming out. This one had a little bit of a different view, Elmore, was it Larry Elmore that drew this? I don't know if that was Larry Elmore. I forget though. Anyway, going on to some more games that were out. Golden Axe 2 came out for the Genesis, and that one sold really well. Back when barbarians need not armor, just run around half naked. That's the way That's the way it is. If you don't want to. If you want to be protected, just learn how to not get hit, bro. Get good. So there you go. I did not have a Genesis, so this is just for the people who love this stuff. I still think the game is a beautiful game. Awesome looking game. And then let's give a mention to a game that was, I believe, TurboGrafx 16 or PC Engine if you're anywhere else in the world that's not America. This one was one of the biggest releases for those games. It was a vertical scrolling shooter. I actually have played this one a little bit, even though I didn't have a TurboGrafx. I've played it on emulator, and it's quite fun. You fly around as a dragon or whatever, and it's a shoot 'em up, except you get to be a dragon. I mean, how freaking cool is that? Great sprites, cool graphics, awesome soundtrack. So, speaking of awesome soundtracks, let's sell you some of this stuff. Why don't we? Have you bought it yet? You can get this for one fee of money. I already own it. I forgot how much I priced it. $6.66, I believe. This is an advertisement. That's enough of the advertisement, huh? You love the album, grabbed it on November 1st or 2nd. Cheers. Well, I'm glad everybody liked it. That was a fun segue there. All right, let's talk about some of the other games that were coming out that were selling for the Christmas holiday. Bill Lambert's Combat Basketball. Let me just mute that. Oh God, look at this. They wanted to use. This is probably the worst basketball game, and this is so specific to that time because anybody born 3 years after this probably doesn't know about Bill Lambier. People born before this probably don't know about Bill Lambier. Bill Lambier was popular because he was violent. He played basketball like some would play rugby. And so they made Bill Lambier's Combat Basketball, where you could knock each other out, elbow people in the face, punch people, and look at this goofy looking game. Oh, see that shove? Oh God, that's. And then they used the scaling, bitmap scaling, so that the ball could come up and then go down. Who thought of this as being a good idea? Anyway, this sold okay. But yeah, Bill Lambier no one knows who he is anymore. Nobody. All right, let's see what else we got here on the list to look at. God, all this stuff. All these toys from the 90s. I was not a big toy person, but here's some of the best toys. Bill Lambier sounds like a stale drink. You go to the country club and your friend's like, I want an Arnold Palmer. You're like, yeah, I'll have a Bill Lambier. You're already drunk when you got there, obviously. Both of you are. Ordering an Arnold Palmer. What's an Arnold Palmer? I can't even say Arnold Palmer. I can't even say that without being proper. It's one of those names that's like so stuffy that you have to like sit up straight in your chair and, you know, like a piece of wood up your ass and be like, Arnold Palmer and Bill Layembeer. All right, anyway, what's next on the list here? We've seen all these toys already before. Okay, we're going to watch a Battletoads commercial that I have not seen yet just because it sounds like fun.
It's just video game review! So, okay, last week Harley and I reviewed Ultra Enviroman. Whack to the curb. It has got to go. So today, we're gonna take a look at Battletoads. Rockin'! That it is, I mean, they got Psycho Pigs and Turbo Thwacking. And with kick fighting, surfing, babe saving, how can you go wrong? Your kid's a freak for Battletoads.
Kicking, fighting, babe saving.
And these other games from Trade West, Nintendo Entertainment, or Game Boy systems required.
Okay, that random opera singer in there. Like, that was back, this was in a point in time where, like, Sega was doing their, like, whole ridiculous, odd, strange commercial. And it was the MTV era where it was like, zoom in and out, like, MTV camera, what are you drinking? What are you drinking? Oh my God, it's a cup of water. Whoa! Like, that's how everything was. They thought that, like, ooh, that's the back of my wall. Oh God, the back of the wall. Whoa, back of the wall camera. I'm so sorry, everybody. I'm so sorry that I just did that to you. But that's the way everything was. And it would just like, just go, quick. And we complain about like people having a short attention span now because of YouTube. Do you really think it was because of YouTube? Or was it this? Like,
to go. So today,
what the hell was that? Like, okay, yeah, just cut like 9 random things in there and then,
has got to go. So today,
what? All right, let's watch another one. This is good. SNES commercial, Swamp Thing. Let's do an SNES commercial. Let's do this. I'm seeing this for the first time too. We're doing it.
Words can't describe the endless challenge of Super Mario World, so we let the players do the talking.
See that zoom in? This is so subtle for the 90s, even though we're doing lots of quick cuts and faces.
Super Mario World is here. It's one of the new generation of Nintendo games. It comes only with Super Nintendo, and it's like nothing.
Next, these are fun.
Now,
it's so different than what we have now. Like, just everything is in your face. In your face. This, check it out. Look. What about this? All right, what is this? Okay, is this going to be in your face or is this going to be chill? Let's see.
Pretty Crimpin' Curl has hair that's easy to style and stays like magic. Pretty Crimpin' Curl's got a new kind of hair.
Getting down to this.
Easy to curl or braid everywhere. Pretty Crimpin' Curl, do it up and down. It'll stay like magic till you do it again.
This is some funky stuff right
You
here.
don't need heat for these hot looks.
Hey, Lucian, looks just like you.
Okay, this is so tame. So, okay, I guess stuff that was marketed toward girls, they were like, girls are a little more intellectual than boys. They actually have an attention span. That's the marketing people. So we don't have to like shove things into their face. You want to crimp and curl my hair? Come on over. What else we got? My Pal commercial. Pirates of Dark Water. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Set sail for adventure, the Pirates of Dark Water. Now,
This show is
for the
cool.
race with Ren and his valiant crew as they search for the treasures of rule. But beware,
Treasure's no good to a dead man.
Bluff and his wicked pirates are on the attack. So the race is armed for battle with a boulder.
All right, well, that was cool. You could actually say the stuff like "dead man." Any more stuff that's going to be in your face? All right, we'll do Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Oh, Wrestling Buddies. No, we're doing Wrestling Buddies. I'm doing 2 more, then I'm going to move on to something else because I'm getting tired of it. Oh my God.
Let's check it out. Introducing the newest WWF Wrestling Buddies, Big Boss Man and Jake the Snake Roberts. Clonk 'em, clonk 'em. Wrestling Buddies want to be your buddy.
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Nothing, officer.
Body slam.
Hey, who's the wise guy?
Big Boss Man.
Murphy.
Oh,
What's going on?
Nothing, Sarge.
Big Boss Man and Jake the Snake Roberts, the newest WWF.
God, if this was 2021, they would have opened the door and just opened fire. But you know, back in 1991, cops would come over to your house and roll around on the floor with your kids and play with stuffed dolls. Man, times have changed. All right, we'll do Ninja Turtles.
The Turtles are assaulting the Technodrome. Inside are the Foot Clan's weapon storage chamber, Krang's laboratory, and Shredder's master control room. Huh? Turtles? Oh, they've been spotted. Now they'll have to watch out for the I Spy radar, that hidden ooze pit, the spike back door. Turtle soup time. Oh no, an ooze
Turtle
scanner,
soup.
a brain scrambler, and mutant manacles. Can Leonardo rescue them? Sure hope so. Teenage Mutant Ninja
Well then.
Turtles from Playmate.
Okay, that's enough of that. So there's some commercials from back in 1990. Do you want to buy stuff yet? Or do I need to go on? Have you made a list of things you need? Let's look at Turkin. So this game was sort of like, not a lot of people played this because it didn't come out on a lot of, it was on the Amiga, but it didn't like come out on Nintendo or anything like that. But this game, let's just skip into it and see if you can tell what it's like. You get to pick your, it looks like Contra right there, but what does this look like to everybody? Buddy. Waiting in the comments for somebody to tell me what this looks like. It looks like an arcade version of something. There we go. Yep. Look at that. Look at those bombs. Come on. It's actually a pretty good game. If anyone wants to play something on... no, it's not like Joust. If anyone wants to play something that's kind of like an arcade version of Metroid, and, you know, whatever, it's pretty fun. Turkin 2. Super Turkin. Turkin 3. So, yeah, if you want anything that's like Metroid but faster. Look at that! Look at that! Yeah, the Amiga had a pretty good sound chip. Like a really good sound chip. Good old Commodore Amiga. Alright, what else would we have? We had these games came out in 1991. We got to talk about some of these. I'm going to turn this off. Alright. The Super Nintendo had a pretty big year in 1991 because it came out in 1990. And then 1991 was a big deal for some of the games that shaped the future of what games could be like. I'm talking about Zelda right here. Do we have any video of this? The Super Castlevania, where's my Zelda? Well, we had Super Castlevania, which is one of the better Castlevania games. I didn't play this one too much. I never got into the combat or the way they move. I was more of a... I played Super Metroid before I played the Castlevania, so I may have to go back one day and like play through these, but this came out in 1991. And if you've played some of the modern Castlevania games, well, they have more to think. More they have to think this one more than they can think the old ones. So, all right, let's move on. Castlevania. But yeah, there's Zelda. Do we need to talk about Zelda, The Link to the Past, and how important it was? I feel like a lot of modern games have gone beyond what we had with The Link to the Past. And taken some of the building blocks that they set up. But A Link to the Past was brilliant for its time in the way that it was laid out. And also the way that it trained you without training you, if you know what I mean. Like, they had a lot of really interesting silent tutorials so you could actually play the game while learning, but not having the game hold your hand. They would give you the tools you need to get out of a room, and you introduce a new mechanic to you, and after you figured out that new mechanic, then they would amp up the difficulty and let you figure it out on your own. So if you've never played Metroid or Castlevania, but you played a lot of the Metroidvania genre, the best Metroidvania game is still Super Metroid. It's better than the new Metroid. It's better than pretty much anything else out there. And I haven't played all the way through Hollow Knight yet. So that's the one that everyone says might be a contender. But, yeah. You really need to play Super Metroid. But I don't think that came out until the next year, so we can't talk about it right now. Here's Sonic the Hedgehog. The Sega Genesis needed a mascot to answer Mario. They needed something, and they needed a pack-in title because Americans were really used to the pack-in titles thanks to Nintendo putting Mario Brothers into their consoles. And in Japan, they generally didn't come with anything packed in, but in America they started packing in the titles with the console to help sell the console. So they really needed something to compete, and they found it. They were like, let's show off our blast processor. This video is a little stuttery for some reason, but they're like, look how fast! And this was like exactly the marketing they needed to be like, Mario, that's slow, that's for kids. Because they wanted to market this to the people who were graduating. Let me turn it down a little bit. This was what was marketed to the people who were graduating from the Nintendo. It's like, all right, yeah, you had the Nintendo when you were a kid. That was a kid's toy. That's annoying. Okay, yeah, you did good. You got a lot of points. There we go. Skip forward a little bit. Yeah, Sonic games had good soundtracks. Sonic 1, 2. Sonic CD's probably the most interesting looking Sonic game. I did prefer Mario to Sonic if I was going to pick one or the other, but they're different games, so you know. I never got used to the inertia of the Sonic games, but once you get going, there's like, it does feel really good to go fast. Gotta go fast! So, but I didn't have a Genesis, so it's like, I can't really speak to the Sonic games because we really had to grow up with these things to appreciate them for what they were at their time. Final Fantasy is the best of all time. If you like JRPGs, maybe it is. We can talk about Final Fantasy right now because Final Fantasy IV came out, and we've even got it on Steam these days. But Final Fantasy IV came out. I love the soundtrack for Final Fantasy IV. I'm not into JRPGs, the combat. I played some of these games. I got a couple Final Fantasy games one time while I was really ill, and played them on my deathbed as a kid. And the biggest, I think the one that I played all the way through was Mystic Quest, and that was terrible. So that gave me a sour experience for JRPGs. But I tried to get into these and never did. But this was a huge release, and you can get it right now on Steam and try it out and see what we were doing in 1991. But the JRPGs were a little different than the Western RPGs. In the fact that instead of like having low stats and low abilities and stuff, they kind of just created algorithms and like let things go crazy. An algorithm, I mean, in the mathematical sense of them being like, you know what? Why do we have characters in Dungeons & Dragons that are limited to level 20? Why not have level 999? Why do we have spells that are limited? So they let you essentially grind, and you could have characters that were like level 1,000,000, and you could cast whatever that was called, Dark Death or whatever, that did like a 9999999 damage and stuff like that. So terrible at most of them. So yeah, this is Final Fantasy IV was an important game back then. Now let's talk about PC for this a little bit. Civilization was introduced in 1991. If you were playing PC games back in that point in time, a lot of them felt kind of arcadey. There were, I guess there weren't any real strategy games at this point. I'm not sure when SimCity came out. I have to check that out. But strategy was not a huge deal at this point, and people were like, okay, well, how do you beat the game? What's the point was not to beat these games. The point was to experience these games and to play through them with this and with SimCity and a lot of the other strategy games and stuff like that were on the market. It was a new type of game. You know, Oscar Mayer's Civilization. Yes, Oscar Mayer. Yes, of course. Good old Sid Oscar Mayer, yes. And Bruce Campbell Shelley. They were the two main designers on this. And they really created a totally new genre of games that you could sit back, think about, and just take one more turn. Because they're turn-based, you don't have to be like leaning forward, they're not arcade, you don't have to have crazy twitch reflexes, but you have to think and plan ahead. They're like chess on another level. So Civilization came out in 1991 and really started something completely new in the PC games world. And at first, you know, they didn't think they were going to sell as many as they did. You know, the Microprose was like, okay, we'll make your little game or whatever, but they did not understand the impact they were going to have. And now we were all the way up to Civilization 6, and millions of copies sold. The entire sim genre and all that stuff. And then another little game that was kind of different was Lemmings, and that also came out. Let's get into Lemmings. This is the original Lemmings right here. So Lemmings allowed you to essentially control a bunch of these different little lemmings. On the bottom you have these different types of lemmings, and the goal was to get them from here. Well, let's go to a harder level. The goal was to get them from the beginning of the end of the level, and you had to be inventive by saying, okay, this lemming is going to dig, and this lemming is going to build bridges, and this lemming is going to do things. They just walk on their own unless you tell them to, like, not to walk. See, we're telling this one, okay, be a barrier. You, okay, be a barrier. So yeah, that's what they're doing here. It's a pretty interesting little game. Bruce Campbell made Civ. Yes, Bruce Campbell made Civ while he was on the set of Living Dead or whatever. All right, I think we've already talked about... Well, no, we didn't talk about this one. Another SSI game. There were like 9,000 SSI games that came out, so RPGs were a really big deal from SSI back then. You know what else came out in 1991? Adventure games were a thing. Monkey Island was huge, and then Monkey Island 2 took everything that was good about Monkey Island 1 and turned it to 11. Really creative games from LucasArts, and one of the best things about these games was most of the jokes were written by developers, not like crazy writers. So the humor is so goofy and nerdy. It's still funny to this day, but you have to understand when you sit down and play these games, these are not written by professional writers who like have tons of like pop culture references and stuff. In my opinion, these games are funnier because they were written by nerds. So this is the remake, which is pretty faithful to the original when it comes to Monkey Island, but this is what it looked like before. This is what people had in 1991. And this at the point in time when it came out was one of the best adventure games. Now we've got talkie versions and stuff like that. But essentially in these games you go to this area and you just sort of play through a story by solving minor puzzles with an inventory of different items you pick up along the way. And then the plot progresses as you solve the puzzles and unlock new stuff in the game. So if you haven't played these games and you want to like have a fun time just chilling, maybe play it on your couch, lean back, I highly recommend these. And then this came out in 1991 and changed so much about the way people use these. What about LOL? Oh no, my thing is stuck. This game changed so much about the way people played side-scrolling games. It was such an interesting game. And these are the modern graphics. This is not how it looked back in the day. You didn't have all the background stuff and the textures in the sky. This is the remake, but it's good. The soundtrack on this is best on the Super Nintendo, in my opinion. And on the Super Nintendo, it's called Out of This World. It's not called Another World. It's called Out of This World. And it has a really cool soundtrack. Essentially, you start off the game like you're doing some kind of experiment, and you've got like a collider. You're working on a collider, particle accelerator or whatever, and you end up transporting yourself to another world, and you have to find your way out. And this is not the typical side-scroller action game or the side-scroller game like Mario or Sonic where you jump and land on enemies and squish them and go on. This is a game that's a little slower, has very fluid animations, and you have to think, move through the worlds and solve puzzles, and it's very narrative, and each area has different mechanics and different things that are going on, and there's a lot of environmental puzzle solving. But this kind of launched a whole new genre of games, and the next in that line I think was Flashback, like you just mentioned there. But yeah, it's very similar to Flashback. I think this is a better game than Flashback. But you know, and then if you are a little younger, you may remember on the PlayStation games like Abe's Odyssey, Oddworld, Abe's Exodus, those type of games. This is the daddy of those games. So they all came from this sort of thing. And this came out in 1991. 2006, that's when the upgraded version, I believe, released. So this came out in 1991, and I forget what systems it was on, a DOS, Amiga, and then we had it on the Super Nintendo as Out of This World. I really like the Super Nintendo version, but it's just because I love the music. The new version has like a more symphonic score, updated music and stuff like that, but I still like the old music. And then there we got that to talk about again. I think that's about it. Oh, one more thing. So, for Metroidvanias, this game, I believe this came out before Super Metroid. And this is the new version. Let's see if I can find a picture of the way it used to look. This new version of the game is actually really good, but this came out on the Sega, and it's called Wonder Boy. You can play it now on the PC as Wonder Boy or Wonder Girl. They updated it and allow you to pick between a male and a female protagonist. But let's show you what it looked like if they show the damn graphics. This is what it looks like now. It's fun. I played this a few months ago. It was a lot of fun. But it's a pure Metroidvania style game. It's sad that this game wasn't bigger, because then these games could be Wonder Metroidvanias. Alright, show the old version, come on. It's not showing the old graphics at all, but... So, with this game, if you get it on GOG or whatever, you can press a button to switch between the old school graphics and the new graphics. And the old school graphics are pretty wild. Let's see here. Yeah, I did this in a video a while back. Let's see if I can just find Wonder Boy. Sega. Let's see if I can find a picture of it real quick so we can see what it looked like. There we go. This is what it looked like on Genesis. This even looks better than I remember. I don't know. 1991, Wonder Boy. This was a really interesting game because it was also another game that shifted some paradigms. You could go left and right. You could unlock new items and gear. You had a shop where you could buy things. So I feel like around this time period, a lot of games started thinking, what can we really do with people who are sitting at home? You know, they have more time on their hands. They don't have to just play everything like it's an arcade game. And we got some of that in the previous years as well with Nintendo. But I think with the release of the Super Nintendo, more power, the Genesis, the Amiga, and stuff like that, we really started to see some cool games that thought, how can we turn this into a multi-sitting affair with a continued story and stuff like that, instead of just something you want to play as an arcade game. And so we started going down a lot of really cool paths with this and Zelda and everything else. And I think gaming started to shift into something that really became the art form that it is today. And a lot of that paradigm shift was around the late 80s, early 90s, where games really came into their own. So it's cool to look back and think about all these things and look at all this stuff and see where we've started and where capitalism has taken us, and where all this, you know, where all the different games and toys and stuff like that have created the world we live in today. Because how many things in this video that we looked at are still things that we have today? What game are we looking forward to next year? Okay, the sequel to Breath of the Wild, Zelda. What else are we looking forward to? Oh, probably a new Sonic game. Have we got any new Battletoads games? Like, what are we looking forward to? Well, we're looking forward to re-releases, updates, new versions of a lot of the stuff we've talked about in this video. So yeah, anyway, what time is it? 6:22. I got a little bit of time left. I'm going to play Morrowind for about 20 minutes. If anybody wants to stick around and goof off, we can do that. But I've had 6 gallons of water, so I'm going to take a quick break, and then I'm going to play Morrowind until 7. So Pacific time, specifically Pacifically. I hate things that rhyme. I'm sad now. All right, I'll be back in just 1 second. All right. Just got to turn that off. I almost forgot to mention, this is 1991, I believe. See this? Look at that. This is so dangerous in outer space, flying around like this. This is Blacktron, and this is before Lego started really working with all of the other IPs like Star Wars and Marvel and Nintendo and Harry Potter and the U.S. Department of Defense and NASA and DC Comics and Disney and yeah, this is before they started working with all those different IPs. They had their own stuff here, and I really like their own designs, their own IP. This is kind of like a little X-wing, but it's also kind of got like a little pod, like a TIE fighter in the front. So it's obviously borrowing. Great art borrows. But yeah, we had a lot of really cool Lego stuff back then, from the space and the castle areas in particular. Let's see if we can get a nice in-focus shot of it down here. So I found that, I saw that on the shelf and I was like, oh yeah, that's from 1991, I think. There we go. Whoa! Okay, sorry. I won't do that again. Harrison Ford's not dead. What is he, 79? I don't know. He certainly has the attitude of somebody who's been around long enough. Just like everything. He's weary of everything. Anything happens, he's like, oh, fuck that. Oh, no. And then people ask him Star Wars questions, he's like, what do you think, I'm some kind of fucking nerd? Come on, kid, you bother me. They're like, but what about the Danublians and the head tubes? What do you think about the changes where they made the head tubes 2 centimeters smaller than they were in Return of the Jedi? And he's like, I don't fucking have any idea what you're talking about, kid. Like, he's weary. Those people like think he's Indiana Jones and Han Solo at the same time, but he's not. He's just Harrison Ford.